Must and Master, Meherabad's work with the God Intoxicated, Part 2. Having discussed some of the details of Meherabad's work with the musts during 1939 to 1946, I'd like to relate some of my own experiences with Muhammad Mast, as well as some of the experiences of Meherabad's Mandali, who assisted him with his must work. In August of 2000, while on break from graduate school, my wife Zoe and I visited Meherabad together. I had hopes at the time of doing a master's thesis on musts. With this in mind, I conducted several interviews while at Meherabad, and I spent some time with Muhammad Mast. At that time, Muhammad's regular caretaker, Eric Nadell, was in the USA, having left the care of Muhammad in the capable hands of Gabe Mednick. Gabe answered many of my questions about the great Mast, and from time to time he allowed me to help with Muhammad's care. One morning after breakfast at the old Pilgrim Center, I rushed over to Mandali Hall at Lower Meherabad, where Muhammad lived. I wanted to see Muhammad and talk to Gabe, but I was feeling rushed because I didn't want to miss the bus to Meherabad. As I sat there rather hurriedly conversing with Gabe, Muhammad was sitting nearby. Suddenly, Muhammad spoke out, sounding quite cross. I asked Gabe, what did he say? Gabe said, "He says, tell that man to take off his watch." Later during that trip, I asked Bao Kalchuri, the author of Lord Meher, if it was difficult traveling with Meher Baba when he was doing his must work.
Difficult means day and night continuously. Day and night continuously, Baba would not stop anywhere. Sometimes he would stop for 2 hours at night or 3 hours at night, and still I would keep watch. So I would be with Baba. Others, of course, Iraj would drive. So hardly 2-3 hours he would sleep. But there was one person, his name was Dr. Nilu. So Dr. Nilu, he would also keep watch. So I would be with Baba inside the room and he would sit outside. After some time, he would start snoring. So I would go, Baba would say, just tell him. So I would go, "What's the matter?" He said, "You are snoring." "I am awake. I did not sleep. I am awake. Why are you after me?" Again I would go back. After 2 minutes again he would start snoring. And Baba would laugh and laugh. Just wake him up, wake him up. Baba would not sleep. So it was really how Baba would take trouble for the must. Sometimes it would rain and the place, of course, he had to go. He would walk the distance. And if he would contact any good must, he would feel so happy, very, very happy. And day and night continuously. So when we would come back, then of course we would just put our things and we would just go to sleep like a log. And Baba would be ready at 6 o'clock in the morning. So we had to get up.
Listening to Bao, I was curious as to what actual must contacts were like. How long would Baba sit with the musts? Did Bao ever see Baba actually working with the musts? Although typically no one ever saw what Baba did when working privately with a must, Bao had one story that was very revealing.
When he would contact the must, it would depend upon few minutes or sometimes more time. But he would contact at that time, everything would be closed. No one could see what Baba was doing. I give you one example. You know the Kashmiri store in Pune? Everyone goes there. So that one, Abdullah, his name. So Abdullah, Baba went to Kashmir. Abdullah was from Kashmir. So he was just a boy at that time when Baba went there in 1944. So Baba wanted some guide because he had to go to different places in Kashmir. So Abdullah was found, and he says, yes, I know different places here. So Baba called him, and Baba asked him, do you know all the places here? I have to go to this place, that place. Do you know? Yes, he says, yes, I know. And Baba says, look here, when you are with me, so we are going for 15 days. 15 days, of course, you have to be with me, day and night. Will you be able to come? He says, yes, it is not difficult. Then Baba says, what do you want? So money, of course, Baba says, you will be paid for that. But then he says, I've got one habit. And what is that? I smoke. So you don't stop me from smoking. Baba says, all right, you smoke. Whenever you want to smoke, we will stop the car. And then you go out and smoke. Then he said, I am a Muslim. And I observe prayers. So in the morning 6 o'clock, then 12 noon, then 6 o'clock again in the evening, and 12 midnight. 4 times I pray. So at that time, of course, you must give me time to pray. Baba says yes. So he was taken. Now he would forget, and Baba would remind what is the time. Oh, forgot. So then Baba would stop the car, and he would just go out and he would pray. And every time he would forget. 6 o'clock he would forget, 12 noon he would forget, 6 in the evening he would forget, and 12 midnight. And Baba would remind him. And Baba, of course, he was a businessman. He was told that he was a businessman. From Baba's identity would never be disclosed. So businessman from Bombay. So he was just thinking, first day when Baba left, so on the way, apples very cheap in Kashmir. And of course, they on the road, of course, by the side of the road, they sit and they sell. So in one place, Baba said, ask him, there were 12 persons, each one should get one apple. So Baba asked him to purchase 12 apples. So he went out and he purchased and brought 12 apples. And then, of course, Baba started. And Baba looked at him, what is in your pocket? They went up to 1 mile, and then what is in your pocket? So he said, 2 apples. How did you get? Did you pay for it? No, here it is very cheap, and that woman, of course, she gave me 2 apples. Baba says, it is not good. This is not honesty. Go back and pay for these 2 apples. So Baba went back and paid for 2 apples. And this man, Abdullah, was thinking, this man, businessman, is very honest. But then, in one place when Baba was contacting a mast, everything was closed. It was a palace. That mast was living in a palace in a one room. So when Baba would contact, the windows, everything would be closed. So this man, Abdullah, was thinking that what this businessman, of course, he has no tongue. He does not speak. So he must have come, he must be contacting the mast for that to get his tongue back. So I must go and see how he contacts, what he does. So he went round and window, it was little bit open. So from the window he looks at Baba, and what Baba was doing, he was bowing down to the mast continuously. Continuously he was bowing down. He said now he is begging for this to get his tongue back, and that's why he is doing this. So then afterwards he had that impression that Baba was doing this to get his tongue back.
Aside from the humorous point that poor Abdullah, not knowing who Meherabad was, had erroneously assumed that Meherabad was beseeching the mast to grant him the power of speech, still, we do learn some important things from his story. From Bao's descriptions, we've learned that, at least on some occasions, Meher Baba bowed down continuously to musts as a part of his work with them. We've also learned a little bit about the rigors of traveling on a must tour with Meher Baba. Later, on that same trip in August of 2000, at Meherabad, I asked Erich about his experiences with musts. There was one incident involving Chati Baba that I found particularly interesting. Erich also tried to describe how he was able to distinguish a must from an ordinary mad person.
But what I want to do is just ask you about you're mentioned in William Dawkins' book as being yes, you and Vidal as being main players in you and Vidal were main players in the must work.
Yeah.
And I wondered, one story in particular was very fascinating, that you came upon Baba working with Chati Baba, and he brushed by you, and something happened.
Yeah, it was unforgettable thing. As usual, when Baba works with the masts, you see, he closets himself in a room, and usually I am there to keep watch outside the closed door. Because whenever he claps, then I open the door, and so I'm waiting. And I know that he's with Cheti Baba, and he clapped, and I opened the door, and I was just there. I think Baba would come out, but somebody brushed against me. You see, and my God, what a shock I received! It was just like a shock from electric wire.
So not an emotional shock, but a physical sensation.
Shock, yeah, the whole thing, body was here. Yeah. Not emotional.
But did you say to Baba what happened?
Nothing.
You didn't tell Baba?
No. But that was the thing. That was Donkin asked me about it, so I recorded this. Yeah, that is the thing.
Did it ever occur to you what happened? Do you have any idea what happened? Why that should happen?
Why he must be, because he must have been highly charged when Baba himself. He came in a huff and passed by my. Most probably he could not bear the shock too. I think so.
Do you have any insight from your own observation? Do you have any idea what Meher Baba did when he was closeted up with the musts?
Well, he said that he was doing his work with them, which would be helpful for humanity later on. That's what he told us. We didn't go deep into what he was doing and why he did that, why he said that, and all that. We accepted what he said, that's all. We were slaves after all. We had no right to question him at all.
Did you ever puzzle about it, think about it, or do you just...
No, it was just but unforgettable. There's no doubt about it.
But you were one of the people who were given the duty to go and find these gentlemen.
Yeah.
So do you think...
What happened was that we did not know who musts are. We could recognize mad people on the street, but we didn't know what. Baba once tells me to go out and go out into the city where we were, I forget the city, and says there are people you see who are intoxicated with God's love, and they are known as masts. Masts means just like that, masts. That is a sign, the need. So, go and find out their whereabouts and what do they like and all that sort of thing. So that I can go and contact them. How will I recognize them? You'll know probably. They look like mad, but they are not mad. But you know that there will be a difference. Look at their eyes and see how they are. So I went, go from place to place.
But is there a criteria that Baba gave? If a person is working in a mental hospital, how would they know this man is mad, this man is muscle?
don't know how they know.
But how did you know? You were able to go into the bazaar and choose a mat from a Muslim man.
Because of that, and Baba inspired us. We don't know.
So it is intuitive?
Yeah, it is. And there is something quite different from the madness. There's something, some sweetness is there. Yeah. Although they are very aggressive sometimes, yeah, they even beat you. But in the aggressiveness, there is some spark of love also.
Erich also shared a story of one of the most unusual types of must, called a Gauss-like must. Dr. Donkin describes this type of must in The Wayfarers. As Dr. Donkin says, just as there are some musts who have certain qualities of a majzub or of a salik, so there are very few musts who have the qualities of a Gauss. Such musts are termed Gauss-like and are able to disconnect their limbs from their bodies when in a certain state of consciousness. Baba describes these musts as having a peculiar, light, springing way of walking, rather like that of a deer. Such musts are fond of lonely places because, with this characteristic of separating the parts of their body, they prefer to remain hidden from the eyes of ordinary men. Here is Erich's description of his encounter with a Gauss-like must.
There was once a man sitting there. So I go there, sitting under a tree. And then Baba said that remember one thing, when you go there and if they offer you something, never refuse. Beware. So I go there and I stand there. And I said, Namaskar, it's good morning. And he was smoking and he offered me a cigarette. And I am a Zoroastrian. And you know, Zoroastrians are fire worshippers, they are called. So Baba told me not to refuse, so I had to. So I kept it. Smoke. So I smoked for first. That's how he gave me the habit of smoking. Okay, so then I just waited there and he looked like somebody not mad but something different. So of course I informed Baba about his whereabouts and all that. Then I went again to some other place there. And to my horror, I went there and somebody was saying that, well, I asked people, do you know anybody who is a must over here in this town and all that? So I said, yeah, he was there. Where has he gone now? He is on the street here. So I go on the streets and all that. And eventually somebody said, he has just entered the room there. You go after some, he was there about an hour ago there. So I go and open the door, and to my horror, what I find is, oh God, I said, what will happen? Nobody sees me. What I found was his body lying, his hands are separate, his leg is separate. It's a murder over here. He's murdered. So I took a fright and I did not know what to do. So I kept quiet and went away. I think Pendu was with me also.
We both
And
were
Pendu
together
also
in
kicked me and said, oh
the
God. And we went away. And then we are quietly walking and I said, Pendu, hope nobody looked at us and nobody thinks that we have done the job. And what we reported to Baba was that Mast who gave me cigarette and that one whom we saw, we did not know who he is, but people say that he is Mast, but then this happened, he had gone inside and this had happened. Oh, you saw that? I said, yeah. He has been murdered. And Baba smiled, shrugged his shoulders, don't worry, not much. He is known as the Gauss. Gauss. I don't know what Gauss is. And after a day or two, Baba we took Baba there, and he was there on the streets there, and they said, this is the must you were looking for. But we couldn't say that he was killed. And Baba said, see how it is. Nothing but Gauss.
So this was a man who could take his arms off and they would go back
That
on.
is, he gets so dissociated with his consciousness, gross consciousness, that he just physically gets dropped.
The cells of his body also suffer.
But didn't Baba also add that you both were fortunate that he had sent you out in his name to see that mast? Remember you had said that Baba told you in Pendu when you came back after having seen him dismembered, that you both were very fortunate that Baba had sent you in his name because
otherwise you would have collapsed.
But blinded, you said. Didn't you say? Yeah.
So these are just a few reminiscences of some of Meher Baba's Mandali who, at the time that they were interviewed, August of 2000, were among the only surviving witnesses to Meher Baba's must work. In conclusion, I'd like to remember some other witnesses of Meher Baba's must work, that is, the musts themselves. The following are a few statements made by musts regarding their impressions of Meher Baba. In June of 1943, a must named Chotu Mayan was brought to Meherabad by Bidal. When Bidal first met him, Chotu Mayan said to him, "Your prophet is very great. He is greater than Christ and Muhammad, and all the world will believe in him." Azim Khan Baba was a high must of Mutra. When Meher Baba contacted him in October of 1946, Azim Khan Baba said, "You are Allah. You have brought forth the creation, and once in 1,000 years you come down to see the play of what you have created." In May of 1946, a fifth plain must was brought to the bungalow where Baba was staying. When he reached the gate, he said, "We have come to the Garden of Paradise." Baba came out of the house, and the must gazed at Baba's face, and then laughed, and with tears of joy in his eyes he embraced Baba. Then, pointing to Baba, he said to those standing by, "Look at this man's face and forehead. They shine as if the sun were there. Can't you recognize who he is?" In March of 1942, when Sakhi Baba saw Meher Baba, he put dancing bells on his ankles and danced, sang, and cried out, "God has come to give his darshan." In February of 1942, Maulana Shamsuddin Ulama, an aged saint of Meherabad, was contacted at night and was roused from sleep to see Baba. When he gazed at Baba, he said, "In the darkness of the night, I see the light of God."